Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to KHM Today, your weekly resource for industry news and straight up fun. I'm your host, Carolyn Orphan. Today is May 10th, 2023. We are celebrating so much today. Of course, Mother's Day is coming up, so happy Mother's Day to all of you that are celebrating this weekend. So before we get started, because we have a great show today, just a little bit in the news that's so fun. First, Amtrak. Harry Potter fans out there, there are 4 trains, Harry Potter trains that are going up and down the Northeast region until June 25th. This is in partnership with Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, which is on Broadway right now. So if you're in that area and just want to take the train, Amtrak has Harry Potter themed cars for you. How cool is that? Hi guys, I'm loving everyone's coming on here. Hi Vicky, I miss you. Go Traveling with Val. Hello. You guys, thanks for joining us today. So we've got Amtrak. Another great thing this weekend, the Oceana Vista was christened this past weekend in Malta. And guess who the godmother is? I knew it immediately when I looked at the pictures. Giada De Laurentiis, chef, celebrity chef. She's amazing. So that was a really fun article to read, and I'm sure it was a great event. And finally, big news on the boards this week. Disney is bringing back the dining plan and no more park reservations for daytime tickets. So this is fantastic news. Everyone is jumping up and down in their seats. So dining plans in particular, that's huge. You guys, I'm loving all the interaction today. Meg, I hope you're doing well. Andrea, Lori, good to see you on here. Gina, I'm not sure which Gina this is. I wonder if it's Disney Gina, but I'm so happy to see you guys today. All right, it's National Tourism Week, and we are excited to celebrate with all of you with some special segments today. We are also heading into a very busy fam season, so we have a guest here today to talk about how best to pack for your fam. So one of our favorite guests in our show sponsor, Apple Leisure Group Vacations. One of our guests today is ready and almost due to have a baby. So we wanted to make sure we had an opportunity to talk to her before she went out on maternity leave. So please welcome Jennifer Lewallen from Apple Leisure Group Vacations. When we talked earlier this week or last week about FAMs and what agents should do to gain from them. So, or what agents should hope to gain from their FAM experience. So here is the conversation I had with Jennifer early last week.
I'm very excited to be able to share the stage today with one of our fantastic travel partners, Apple Leisure Group. Please welcome our wonderful business development manager for host accounts, Jennifer Lewallen. Hi, Jennifer.
Hi, Carolyn. Hi, everybody. How are you?
Thanks so much for joining us. I love your background. And I was just thinking, oh my goodness, this is the first time our viewers are seeing like my messy office, because normally I have a different background. But we are pre-recording this, and but we wanted to make sure we had this discussion today because it's so important, and it's a fun one to have because we're talking about FAMs, which everyone loves to go on. But I'm a firm believer in making sure that your experience is very directed and that you're attending FAMs that make sense for your business. What's your mindset behind FAMs?
Yeah, I agree. Of course, we all love FAMs because, of course, they're fun. We get to go to the destinations that we sell to people. You of course, you want to experience them yourself after putting together all these fabulous vacations. But you're right. You definitely want to go into FAMs with the mindset of how is this going to help me grow my business? Why do I want to go to this destination? And picking destinations or FAMs with themes that make the most sense to you, because you are the travel expert, and that's why your clients are coming to you. They want to know about your experience. So, it's always good to have that extra knowledge and that extra experience to experience those destinations and those, hotels for yourself.
What's some word of advice that you would give a newer agent who has never done this before, is looking at all these different opportunities, and they're trying to figure out which one is going to give them their most bang for their buck, if they know that they're, a fun and sun seller? What would be your word of advice if they've got, 5 different options to choose from?
Sure. I would think take a step back and kind of take a look at your current business and think about where you want to take your business. Whether like is your main, maybe for your business, do you really want to focus on families? Do you want to focus on luxury? Do you want to focus on specific destinations like Mexico and the Caribbean? Or do you want to focus on Europe? Or, just where, take a look, and also take a look at your current client base. What are they asking for? What kind of questions or what kind of destinations are they looking for? That way you can really kind of narrow down what makes the most sense for you, your business, and your clients.
I'm a big fan of FAMs where you're going to see a variety of product, everything from what we would consider a value or a budget to something moderate to something high end. I think sometimes we get in this mode where we want to see a particular thing because, ooh, I just want to see it. But at the end of the day, it's, are you really going to sell it?
Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
Of course, I think if you ask almost any travel advisor or anybody in the travel industry, they're like, and you say, what do you want to sell? And they're probably going to say, whatever's going to make me the most commission, or whatever's going to, I want to sell to luxury or high-end clients. But, the great thing about being a travel advisor is you want to be adaptable and be able to help a lot of different types of people with your skills and your knowledge. So, I think it's good to go in and take a look at some of those, like you said, just a wide range of properties, because, that budget-friendly traveler, might bring you a lead that could lead to a higher booking or a group booking or something like that. You never know, when you have different types of clients. So it is always good to pay attention to all the different kinds of resorts. I've stayed at budget resorts that I thought were nicer than some of the luxury resorts I've stayed at. You know what I mean? Like sometimes they offer better services or better, activities or something like that. So always go into a fam with a very open mind.
Well, and also what is your client trying to get out of the vacation?
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
I stayed somewhere last spring break and I thought it was lovely, but it was lovely for my experience. I could immediately think of people where it would not have been a great experience for.
Sure.
But where I was in my mindset and what I was looking for during that time period, it fit the bill.
Exactly. It's funny you bring that up because I was at Secrets Cap Cana once, and I met this couple who were big fans of all of AM Resorts, which of course is now the Hyatt Inclusive Collection, but they always stay at those types of resorts, those brands. And, this was an older couple, but sometimes they like to go with their grandkids and their family. And they were telling me about how they had last year stayed at a Sunscape. And you think to yourself, a Sunscape customer is very different than a Secrets customer. But they say they always would stay at this Sunscape when they would go to, I believe at the time it was Jamaica. They would go to Jamaica, and if they were bringing their families, they'd always stay at the Sunscape because they loved the water park. They loved all the services and family amenities. So you never know,
You never know.
It's all about what they need, like you said, at that time.
At that time. So I am so excited to be able to take a group of newer agents to Punta Cana at the end of May. This is an educational event. We're so excited because they kind of have to work, right?
Yeah.
There's this before, during, and after. And, one of the things that I think is so important to do is really understand, how do you manage the information and take that information and do something with it afterwards? What's your suggestion for when you're on property and, you're trying to get in the sights, the smells, the tastes, you're like trying to take it all in, yet you're still moving while you're doing all this.
Right. Exactly. I think it's important to have a bit of, like you said, pre-work, I think is very important. Even if you're doing it on your own, think about the things that you want to learn from each hotel and have like a set of questions or a set of just info that you can apply to every hotel, no matter if it's luxury or budget or family or adults only. Talk about like find out the features, the pools, like what the room categories, that sort of thing, or the restaurant types.
Is there a swim up bar? Everyone wants to know if there's a swim up bar.
You are right. To be honest, I have turned places down because they didn't have a swim up bar. So yes, does it have a swim up bar? It's probably the most important question. And then it's all really about what you are most comfortable with on how you like to take in info. You know, some people like to write stuff down. If you're going to be writing things down, just make sure you know, like, just jot like bullet points as quickly as possible. I've also done had moments where I've recorded the person giving the tour, you know, so I just had my phone and just had a recording open and recorded the things that they were saying. And then of course, you know, take pictures, you know, social media is huge. Take pictures or videos. One of my coworkers actually does this thing, in the morning, and she does it at night, where she calls it her 30 seconds of Zen for the day. And she'll film like a little bit of the beach or like the palm trees swaying, and she'll post it on her social media. And everybody loves it because they're like, oh my gosh, look at that gorgeous beach. I want to go experience that. You know, so take little recordings, take some photos, you know, keep in mind when you're taking photos. I know it'll be hard because you're traveling around with a group, but try not to get any of your fellow travel agents in it, but just really be able to show them the experience. And don't be afraid to put yourself in some of the photos or videos too, because, you know, it helps you create that relationship with your viewers. So that's fine too. You know, take a picture of yourself enjoying that cocktail at that swim up bar. They'll want to join you.
Yes. So you've given us a lot of do's. Are there any hardcore don'ts?
I would always say, just keep in mind that you're going to be having a ton of fun, and we want you to have a ton of fun, but it is still a professional trip. You know, you're still there to learn. You're still there to, you know, represent yourself and represent your agency. So keep that in mind because you're going to be around people that are there just on vacation and traveling. So, you know, be comfortable, but dress professionally, act professionally. You know, I was going to say, I know these are still do's, but do ask a lot of questions and just be respectful and get the most as you can from the experience.
I love it. Well, you know, some of the things that we're going to have on this fam, which are, you know, is so important. We do a photo circle. So the first person in the room can take those great photos and then share them with everyone. That's so that it's not, you know, everyone fighting for the same photo. And then we also created these great booklets with a checklist of all of those items that you suggested. So, you know, I think we're doing 7 site visits and over the course of 3 days. And so they can just go through and really make those quick jots.
That's a good idea. I love that.
Of what they're doing. So, you know, over the years, I think you become a little more in tune with the best way to capture the information for you. I know I've met people that can do it totally digitally, and I've tried. I'm not as good at that. But it's really fun to kind of see how everyone is able to pick up on the information and then transfer it to bookings later. What do you think is the max number of resorts anyone should see in a day?
In a day?
Because I'm kind of that, like, let's go. And when I first started, I was like, let's do them all. We'll be fine. And I have, I think, what is my magic number, but I want to hear yours.
I would say that probably the sweet spot of resorts are probably about 4, because I would think you would do maybe 2 in the morning, you break for lunch and do 2 in the afternoon if you can. I think I probably wouldn't do more than 5 in a day, because I think you'll just be overwhelmed with a lot of info. And like you said, you're there to learn, and you don't want to overwhelm yourself. So yeah, I would say probably 4 or 5.
Well, I would absolutely agree. 4 is kind of my limit. By the 4th, you're like, whew.
Yeah, I agree. 5 might be a little bit much. I mean, like you said, even 3, because then you could probably spend a little bit more time at one of the resorts. You know, maybe you spend your whole afternoon at one, you know, and get and then actually get to relax and experience it as a guest or something like that. But yeah.
I've done things with suppliers, and I've done things on my own. And that's probably the hardest thing, is to figure out the timing. How long are you going to spend at each place? Because you'll have a sales manager that's kind of got this routine down, you know, and knows, here we're going to go here, we're going to go there, no problem. And then you've got another one who loves their resort so much, they want to show you every nook and cranny.
Yeah.
And I love that as well. but it definitely can throw the schedule off.
It can. You're right. I think 4 is the good sweet spot.
It's so wonderful when you get someone that's so proud of where they work, that
Yes,
they
it
want
is.
to show you that level of depth when it comes to their resort. So, and it's hard to
Absolutely.
say, hey, we got to speed it up a little bit because the car's waiting for me.
Right.
Just show me the highlights. Everything at their resort is a highlight to them. And
Of course.
I think that's beautiful.
You're right. No, it is. It makes the experience even better.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
So, and I think one of the other tips that I would give is make sure you're handing out your business card, and you are, if possible, getting a business card, because you never know when you'll want to reach back out to them with a
Yeah,
question on a room category, or if there's amenities available for your clients as a
absolutely.
welcome. So,
You're right. I
build
think
those relationships.
absolutely. I think travel in general, the whole travel industry is just an industry of relationships. It's, my relationship with you guys and my agents, it's the agents and their relationships with their clients, but also you're right, the connections and the relationships you make with these resorts. Cause, I think a lot of people, and I experience this too, you go into it thinking, I'm going to collect everybody else's business card, but make sure they have yours too.
Mhm.
Definitely bring them with you.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Well, thank you so much for your time and your energy today, and for being with us. I think it's going to
Thank
be a
you.
really fun experience, and I can't wait to kind of have that with newer agents that haven't had the opportunity yet to experience a fam. I think we're going to have a lot of fun and learn a ton.
I agree. I think it's going to be a great time. I've chatted with a few of the agents that are attending this fam already, and I know they're excited, and they're ready to have a good time, and they're ready to learn a lot. So I think it's going to be a fantastic fam.
Yes. Well, thank you so much. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, Carolyn. You too.
And we're back. I hope you guys enjoyed that segment with Jennifer Lewallen. You can tell I'm all ready for my fam. I got my hat and my sunglasses. Don't worry, this isn't actually the sunglasses I would wear. These are funny trade show sunglasses. Anyways, everyone loves our segments on packing. So we thought we would bring another one to you. And I'm hoping that Linda's still here. Is Linda still with us? Otherwise, we'll jump to our next segment. There she is. We were nervous. We couldn't find you.
Yeah, my screen was white, but I could see y'all and hear you and everything else, but I didn't know what happened.
Good.
So.
Well, we're glad you're here. Packing is always a hot topic on the show, and packing for fams is really important. So, and we should say that you're the owner of Cedar Park Travel, but you're also one of KHM's regional coordinators. And I've come to know you over the years, and I thought, okay, this will be fun. Let's bring her on and see what she packs in her suitcase when she's going on a fam. So, what is important for you to have when you're going on a 3-day fam?
The most important thing is your shoes. Your shoes are probably the most important thing. You've got to have the most comfortable shoes. I like to have a good pair of sandals, because if we decide to walk on the beach, or we decide to do something that I can flip them on, flip them off, something that'll come on or off quickly. Sunscreen is very important. Hydration is another thing, especially, it sounds like y'all are going to see about 4 resorts, I take it. That's my sweet number 2.
That's a lot in a day.
That's a lot. It's a lot. And extra battery chargers, because when you're taking pictures, you're going to have to make sure that your phone is charged the entire time. Little tip I take a picture of the resort and the room number, so I know exactly which resort I've been at, because I've come back and looked at pictures and been like,
can't
where
remember.
Because they do kind of start to blend together, and find that unique characteristic that makes that resort different. The other thing is a perfect lightweight sundress or lightweight clothing, because you're in and out. You're in Mexico, it's going to be hot. Punta Cana, it's going to be hot. You're going to be sweating. So back to that hydration, where you've got that water bottle with you. I always have some kind of tote. I'm sure y'all probably have a tote bag you're giving out or something, some kind of tote bag. So if they give you literature or information, you can shove it in your bag. You've got your water bottle, you've got your battery charger. So you've got everything with you. I always have like a little thing of medicine. I got some Advil for anything that might happen. And I always like to try to leave extra room, because you're probably going to come back with stuff. And so,
I like that you bring up the clothing piece, because I feel like I go through more day clothing on a fam, because you're sweating so much that it's like no other, right? The evening you could wear the same thing every night and no one would care. But during the day, it's amazing what happens to you, you know, in 3-4 hours with moving throughout resorts like that.
Yeah, and being on the bus, you know, the
Yep.
bus seats kind of stick a little, everything kind of sticks a little, you know, maybe not to everybody, but to me. So a very lightweight sundress, some nice linen pants, something of that, because you got to stay professional. So that's
Right.
very important.
Right.
But those would be my key things. You got to have a battery charger. You got to have a water bottle. You got to have lots of sunscreen, comfy shoes that look professional. Can't wear your Uggs. You know, I would,
Yep.
but you don't. And then, you know, a little extra medicine, because sometimes you might get a headache from you're dehydrated because you're hot.
Yes. Band-aids from the shoes. I always have
Yes.
those things. Tell me, what was one of your favorite FAMs that you've ever been on? One that you loved just in general, but then also one, if it's different, that you really came back and you just saw your return on investment.
So I have to say, I did Punta Cana, but we saw, I want to say it was 15 resorts in 3 days.
No.
Something insane, right? But it was insane enough that I don't really have to go back there, because I know, I mean, I do now, because it's been since 2019, I think is when I did it, 2018. But at the time, I saw so many resorts that I had all of them in my back pocket. So anybody called me, I could tell you this or that. But it did get kind of blurred. You know what I'm saying? I think more mine are usually the SASs when I'm on the ships and I go live and I'm able to walk around, because we're on the ship and we have more free time to explore. So I think that, to me, I get more return off of, because when I'm able to go live and show them where I am and what I'm doing, I think that's a huge plus. And when you have more time to explore, like exploring at the resort, like sitting, they were saying, take a picture of yourself with a drink at the bar. My friends hate that, but my slogan is I go so you know. So
Right.
my friend says she spent because I went, so it works out great.
That's a really good hashtag. That's great. That's fantastic. I hadn't heard that one before, so that's good.
Yes.
Linda, is there anything that you would say you shouldn't pack?
Yeah, you definitely should not, you know, you need to look businessy, but you don't need to be a full blazer and full pants and full suit and things like that, anything that's like super heavy and high heels. No, we need to think comfort. You need to be comfortable, light and easy on your feet, because you're going to be walking. You're going to walk like you've never walked before. Is that true? Don't you feel that way?
Absolutely. And I kept thinking about Crystal and the high heels I was wearing and how I couldn't walk. Like when I got home for a couple days, my feet had lost all feeling. And I thought, and I never do that in general. I usually have a really nice pair of like tennis shoes that I'm wearing that look cute with a sundress kind of thing. But absolutely, you can't. Number one, the speed sometimes that you're walking, but just the steps that you're taking in. There's no way you'd be able to keep up with everyone. And that's important, right? You have to keep up with everyone else.
Yes.
And you can't do that if you're wearing shoes that aren't working for you.
Right. I think shoes are probably my number one thing, just because if you're not wearing the right shoes, you get blisters. You can't keep up with everybody. Kind of ruins everything. So
yes. Oh, we've got a couple. Oh, Nancy says she'd love to do a Punta Cana fam sometime. I think it's one of those destinations that was always hard for me to picture. So for me to do a fam to Punta Cana, I've done one before a couple years ago, but it's a destination that I have a hard time envisioning. I've got Mexico. I can really envision where everything is. But with Punta Cana, I don't know. I need to pay more attention this time around. But when you fly a red eye from Denver, it's hard to pay attention when you land because you're so tired.
Yes.
What was the last thing I was going to ask you about before I left? We got a little sidetracked.
A good hat is good too.
Oh, that's a
nice
good
sun
one.
hat.
Oh, I know what I was going to ask you. What method has worked best for you for capturing information? Do you do everything on your phone or an iPad, or are you sitting there with your notepad?
It's all on my phone. I'm going to take a picture of the door. I'm going to take a picture of the room. I'm going to take a picture. And then while they're talking, I'm in my notes app and I'm writing down those key important things. Then when I get back at night, I'll go back on my computer and I'll have a folder that says Iberostar. And I'll go to the Iberostar pictures. I'll pull all the pictures because while it's fresh in my brain, and then pull my notes that I could get. You can't get a whole lot of notes. And then I'll write my notes. And then I have my folder when someone says, well, what do you think of this resort? Then I can go back to my notes because it's fresh in my head. But I think that's the key part is when you can get back or you're flying home on that airplane, start making those folders, start making all those notes so that you know what goes with what. And having the photo circle is really great too, because you might not get that picture, but someone else gets that picture. And just once you can, just put everything into a folder. And then it's so easy when someone says, oh, what do you think of, Hard Rock and Los Cabos? Like, hold on, let me send you some pictures, or that's an unswimmable beach. It's just, those are the kind of things that you really need to know. And key thing for me is the swim up bar connected to the swim up rooms, or the swim up rooms in their own little pool? Because that's always an issue. That's something I always look at.
Yes. Can I tell you, I have only found one resort where the swim up rooms connect to the larger pool. If you know of another one, I would love to know it, but I have only seen one that actually does that. El Dorado, it is a Charisma property. It used to be Azul Sensatori.
Okay. El Dorado Maroma has it too.
It does it too. Okay. So that must be a brand thing. Every other property I've ever been to has just the long pool.
Oh, La Perla in Mexico has it too.
Paradisus, La Perla.
Paradisus. Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
It does.
So this might be a new segment. Swim up rooms. This is a hot button for my children. They love their swim up suites. So, but they like ones that connect to a larger pool. And that's where you find.
It's pretty interesting if it's a small swim up section and it's just one pool and you're just sharing it with 5 other rooms. I'm not sure how I feel about that one, but when it's in continuous wave. But anyway, off of that subject. But I will say that making folders and putting everything together as soon as you can while it's still fresh in your brain, because you're exhausted, so exhausted. And so really you can do it on the plane ride coming home. You can actually start putting it when you're putting it in your phone. You can just, make that folder so you know which one's which.
Perfect. Well, and again, everyone does it a different way, but I think we can all agree that you have to take some time, even though you're tired, to get today's information somewhere else safe so that you can refill your brain the next day with more information and you don't forget anything. So I'm a big fan of doing that on the plane ride home, because unless I'm sleeping, it's a good time to just focus and get that information out.
I've also seen where friends will double up. One takes the pictures and one writes the notes, and then they get together and then they share that information between each other.
Good.
So that's just another idea. But yeah, it's fun. It's exhausting, and you're going to have a great time.
I think it's going to be a lot of fun. We'll have a good time. Thank you so much for taking the time today. I hope to see you soon. And we always appreciate your thoughts.
Thank you so much for having me. It was so fun. And
all right.
Have fun in Punta Cana.
Thank you. I'm sure you'll get the recap.
Awesome.
All right. Take care, Linda.
Bye.
All right, you guys. So this week is also National Tourism Week. And usually I ask one of our faithful viewers or one of our wonderful agents at KHM to put themselves out there and ask their clients, hey, what do you think about the services I've provided? Why do you use a travel agent? Why do you continue to book with me? This time I thought, well, why don't I put myself out there? So in the spirit of National Tourism Week, I thought it would be fun to ask some of my long-term clients, Michael and Leona Salazar, if they would come on and chat with me a little bit about their experience and why, after all these years, they still use a travel agent. They are sailing in Alaska this week, so we also pre-recorded earlier last week. So here's what they had to say about why they use a travel advisor.
In the spirit of National Tourism Day, my team, the team at KHM Today, thought it would be a lot of fun to have some real live clients come on to discuss how a travel advisor has worked for them and the destinations that they've been interested in traveling to. So usually I ask other agents to bring people on and share their experiences, but this time I thought, wouldn't it be fun to ask some of my own clients? So please welcome my clients of over 10 years, Michael and Leona Salazar. Hello. What did you drop?
Hi, Carolyn. How are you?
Good. How are you both?
Good. Nice to see you.
Yeah,
Nice
great
to
to see you.
as well. Thanks for joining me. I know I've shared with you that I do this show, and so thanks. I know it's not everyone's comfort zone, but so I thank you for coming on and being willing to talk about our relationship over the last, over 10 years. I like to say that we've been travel partners because we don't work side by side. We work together on every one of your trips, whether it's the research process or even just figuring out where you should go and how you should do it. So what has that relationship meant to you all these years?
Well, I think the relationship is most important because over the 10 years, you have figured out our expectations, what we like, what we don't like, what we absolutely don't want. You have never tried to sway us into something that we know is not going to fit us.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very important to have that kind of trust relationship where I can call you and say, hey, Carolyn, we're thinking of doing this, we're thinking of doing that. What do you think? And you have never steered us wrong. Michael can tell you or talk about our trip to Egypt, how important that was, and our relationship with you in getting that done. And also knowing you have all of our requirements, you have our medical issues, you've got all of that. So it's really important to have that kind of a relationship with you.
It's like any professional relationship. You just take for granted that your travel agent knows who you are, knows your little quirks, the things that you need to be reminded of, and sometimes we'll forget. But given that, it's like any other professional. It's just comforting to know that when you're dealing with, for example, you, Carolyn, specifically, but when you're dealing with any professional, a doctor, dentist, lawyer, whatever, that they already know who you are. And it's good to establish a history. That way you don't have to start repeating everything. And generally speaking, when we're dealing with any of these situations, you're bound as a human being to forget things that later on you're going to say, oh, darn, I wish I had remembered to say that. So that's the importance of having a travel agent and a relationship.
One of the
I'm sorry.
One of the trips that's so was so challenging but also so meaningful was your trip to Egypt. And one of the things that I remember specifically about this is that you are world cruisers. You've done that twice. And when you got back from that second cruise, it was, well, we don't want to do that again. But you've always liked the idea of unpack once.
Mm-hmm.
But you started to talk about, Egypt and Israel and going back there, but how that just felt daunting to do by land. And I remember saying to you, okay, if I could find it where you didn't have to do a whole lot of work, would you do it? And that's where we found, A&K, and, I laid it all out for you. But the challenging part of that trip was booked COVID, rebooked COVID.
Exactly.
Third time's a charm. So talk about that experience a little bit.
Well, I think it was important to have you as our go-between, because how could we possibly relate to the people in A&K that, yes, we wanted to do this trip, but we're unable to do it. And the fact that you were able to work with them, you were able to get for us some, a few perks here and there, because you told them we wanted to go on this trip. And, they were going to do certain things, but you were able to get them to do other things on our behalf. And that's really important, because how am I going to speak with these people?
Mm-hmm.
You have relationships with all kinds of executives, senior executives throughout the travel world. And that benefits your clients. And it certainly has benefited us because they know who you are. So that's really important for us.
This is a good example of knowing who you're dealing with, Carolyn. You knew that I'm very resistant to having to pack up, move to a hotel, unpack. One of the problems for me is this breathing machine. I have a CPAP machine, which is, a headache. You have to take this thing wherever you go. Knowing that, you were able to come up with a solution, which I have to say was brilliant. And that Egypt trip, although it was, due to COVID, postponed a number of times, was the best trip ever. And I think we've been around the world twice on a cruise. That's 3.5 months. And I don't remember how many countries and places we visited.
7 continents.
Yeah. But that trip was the best trip ever. And, I did have to unpack. I did have to, deal with that, but it was minimal. It was so easy, and never worried about that again.
Well, they also had the valet service. So that was,
which to me was, okay, you have to pack and unpack, but what if someone picked up your bags? Would you be okay with that? So it was finding that pain point for you and seeing if the destination and that level of service was going to make up for the fact that you had to pack and unpack. And thankfully, it did, and it wasn't a problem.
It was not a problem at all because we packed accordingly. We were limited in our pounds. We tend to travel heavy, but we knew we weren't going to be able to do that. And it worked out absolutely carefree, stress-free, everything from the moment we stepped into Egypt to the moment we left Israel. It was fantastic.
And the 9 COVID tests.
And the 9 COVID tests, yes.
That was a lot of picking that you
missed. Yeah, our poor noses.
Yes.
But luckily we were negative on all of them.
Yeah.
So, it was
well, I know you spoke about some of the benefits that, I was able to, and it's interesting when I recall back to that trip, it wasn't even pulling strings. It was just sharing with the company. Look, my clients are coming from Washington. They're not going to travel from Washington to Egypt for 1 week because Egypt's open and Israel isn't.
Right.
You got to give me the 3 weeks. I need all of them. And what did we end up doing over the course of 3 years of this trip? We ended up adding to it each time. So
exactly,
because we thought, well, if we've waited this long, we might as well add on this piece. So I think that ultimately it worked very well for A&K.
It worked very well. And the additional benefit that I'd like to stress is the fact that wherever we are in the world, I know that I can pick up the phone and I can reach you. I can reach you. I recently had to call for roadside assistance, and I called up my insurance company thinking 30 years back that someone's going to answer the phone and say, oh, where are you? We'll send a tow truck. Well, there is no such thing like that. I had to press prompts. They then referred me to a website. I was starting to fill out forms on my phone, which you know very well I don't do very well. And thank God someone from the building where I was parked in front of came out with jumper cables and was able to start my battery. But I don't want to have to press prompts. If I had gone on a website, a travel website, hotels or whatever it is, would I actually get a person when I'm in Egypt?
Right.
Wondering where is my hotel? Why don't they have? There is no way that I would get a person.
More and more, we have a society that deals with prompts and artificial intelligence, and it's just the way that things are going. It is so wonderful to actually talk with a real live human being like Carolyn and say, Carolyn, this is my problem.
Yeah.
Luckily, we hadn't any real big issues, but that's important.
Very important to me.
It's one of the things that I know as I'm talking to agents, I always like to stress. The best thing you can do for your clients is listen to them and be available. Everything else is just kind of those working pieces, but the talking to them, the listening to them and being available is what we crave in society, and it's so hard to get.
Yeah.
You know, so if you want to separate yourself from the rest of the pack, that's how you do it.
Yeah.
That's the
Absolutely.
magic.
Yeah.
Talk real quickly about, because this was really fun, you know, it's thinking outside of the box. We send you on the world cruise, and there was a particular location that you really wanted to visit. And, you know, as your travel advisor, I'm like, can't you just stay on the boat, or, you know, take the excursion that's with the boat, because it's a little nerve wracking on my end to have you guys out wandering around. But what did we end up finding for you?
Well, on the world cruise, I wanted to see Kuala Lumpur. And Kuala Lumpur's excursion from the cruise line was just not going to make it. They weren't staying in the places that I wanted to really see and spend some time in. They were going to museums, which, you know, we are not big museum people. And it was going to be just a terrible waste of time and money. So you were able to get us a fantastic day tour. Private tour in Kuala Lumpur. And again, how could I possibly have done this on my own? I could never have figured it all out. And you were able to get us the most fantastic. I mean, they came at 9 o'clock. They were right there in the terminal. They dropped us off. They took us exactly where we wanted to go. We went to lunch with the guide. I mean, it was absolutely fantastic. And that's also another trip that we talk about.
It was better than fantastic, because the guide actually walked almost 400 stairs up to Batu Caves. And it was amazing. And he went into the caves with us, explained the history and interesting facts, films that had been done there. And it was just fantastic, and another memorable experience that I'll never forget.
Yeah. You know, when you go to places like this, it's always a little bit daunting because, you know, there's crowds and lots of people. And, you know, I don't get too uptight about crowds and, you know, pickpockets and things like that, although I am aware that these things can happen. But this guide stayed with us from the moment we got in the truck, the van, not a truck, to the time he dropped us back off with the driver back in the terminal. So that was, you know, a really good sense of safety. And that was also the same thing with the A&K trip to Egypt, Jordan. They were with us every step in the way. When they dropped us off into our hotel rooms, they said goodnight and that's it, but they were there in the morning. So that's also a very big benefit to having the right kind of tour.
Right.
And again,
that takes time to find. It takes time for us to figure out as advisors who to partner with, when we feel comfortable, when we don't feel comfortable, and make sure we express that.
Yeah. So that is also something that is of great benefit to us, because there's no way we could do this. You do this 24/7. This is your job. I know that. So the other benefit I have to point out also is the fact that you have our credit card number, you have our passports, you're able to do all of these things online. If I happen to be out of town, you can make sure that payments are paid. I don't have to worry about deadlines. Oh my God, did I miss that deadline of a payment? You text me and say, payment is due in 3 days. I'd like to pay this. You know, who would do that? Who would do that? There is no other, you know, if I booked a cruise, I'm sure on my own, they're not going to send me an email saying, oh, your payment is due. I don't think so.
I don't know. I've never done it. So
I've never done it either. So
communication you get.
But this is also a great benefit. And I have to say, I like the little perks of having group rates. And we've discussed group rates that we're not really in a group, but you can provide us with group rates. I like those little perks as well.
Well, the additional onboard credit, we call them travel leaders groups. You guys have absolutely benefited over the years with your princess status and combining that with the groups. I mean, sometimes we're sending you off with hundreds of dollars worth of onboard toward credit, which is huge.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, I can't thank you both enough for joining me today for, National Tourism Day. I think what I heard from you is that the partnership is really important and that it's really my job to listen to you, but also think outside of the box. Hear what you're saying and not go so far to the left that I'm offering you something that I know you absolutely won't be interested in, but listening to see if there's alternatives to travel. But I wish you both the best on your cruise next week. Alaska. And, thanks so much for your time.
Well, thank you. It's been our
Carolyn.
pleasure. Take care. Bye-bye now.
You guys, I hope you enjoyed that look into my world with my clients. They're so fantastic. And thank you, Michael and Leona, for sharing that. They are in Alaska this week, and they did send me a note on Sunday when they got on the ship saying this week they are the most traveled passengers this week on Princess Cruise Line. They're usually kind of up there, but they've never been number one before. So they were really overwhelmed and thrilled with that note they received from Princess. So thank you both for spending your time with me and for sharing your thoughts on what it's been like to work together for the last many, many years. You guys, thank you so much for being here today. It's so wonderful to see you, Vicki and Nancy and Val and Naomi and Sherry. Oh my gosh, it's so fun to see you guys are on. I hope you've recovered from boot camp last week. Thank you to ALGV for their continued support of the show. And of course, all of our other show sponsors. Next week, we're talking Virgin Voyages and Virgin Circles. So please join us here next time, same place, same bad channel. Take care, you guys.